Happy Valentine's Day, souls. It's so good to see you guys all here in our creative corner. And whether you've had a good day or a bad day, whether you're single or taken or whatever, just remember at least tomorrow is cheap flowers and chocolate and balloons and all that stuff. Go get yourself a stuffed animal, go get yourself a rose, go get yourself some chocolate, because self-love is just as important as any other kind of love. And whether you went out on a date or you stayed home with your beautiful fur babies like I did, your Valentine's Day was valid. I actually had a relatively good one. I hung out with my niece and nephews today. So we are going to review, because it is a Valentine's Day, a romance book. Isn't that awesome? I'm untangling this old yarn. I'm going to stick it in. So I really want to frog our book blanket. I'm not going to. I really wish I had stuck with the stripe one. I don't know if this is going to turn out right. But the yarn is so old that I don't trust it to frog correctly, and we're already this far in, so it's not going to be an actual square because I screwed up a few places and I can't really block it. But you know what? It's going to be a blanket or something, and it will work. And so I'm going to add on our... We haven't done our romance one yet, so this will be our romance. It is a brighter pink than the pink that's in here. It's not really a baby pink. It's more of a faded neon pink almost. And so I'm going to cut the end of our yellow from our graphic novel. And then I'm going to attach this. I know that there are some crocheters out there who are now just currently dying because I just cut the yarn. Apparently... you don't tie yarn. I've been told that you're supposed to not cut and tie it. You're supposed to, like, cut it and then, like, weave it in. And I don't trust myself with that. So, oh, crap, I have the wrong needle. I grabbed the red needle and I need the green needle. I shall be right back. It is currently in another project that I am working on. So I'm just going to place it real fast with this knitting needle so I can still it. Because I started making myself some pants, and then I ran out of the blue yarn that I was using. I miscalculated how much I would need for the square patterns I was doing. And so now the pieces that I made are actually going to be turned into a tote bag, and then I'm going to redo the pants using a different color and a different pattern. But I had to steal this hook from it because it's the hook we're using, and it's the hook I was using for that. So I'm going to slip it in. I'm going to take our stitch marker off, and we are going to begin. So, our romance book for today is Two Can Play by Ali Hazelwood, and in retrospect, I may have been too nice to this book. That's just, like, retrospect, though. Like, I reviewed this on Goodreads immediately after I read it, and, it reminded me kind of a combination of two of her other books, but not quite. It reminded me of a combination of her Under One Roof and this other one. What's it called? I'm not sure. It takes place in the Arctic, and it's scientist. Ali Hazelwood has a reputation for doing main characters who have STEM-related backgrounds. In this book, it is two video game developers that are competition. Their two teams, their two companies don't get along, and our main character, as is Hazelwood fashion, thinks that our main guy character hates her. I'm a sucker for enemies to lovers, and I'm really a sucker for miscommunication trope, okay? And this had both. Plus, it low-key had a snowed-in trope. They're not actually snowed in, but they're all like, their companies are both vying to get the contract to develop this third game in a series. And so the one company, the girl, her company is good at RPG, and the guy's company is good at combat, and the company who they're getting hired by wants both elements. So they tasked them to see if, even though their teams are well-known rivals, if they could work together. And so their owners decided that the best way to do this is to go on a vacation together through the, not really Christmas, but it's in winter. It's probably, I don't know, January-ish, because they don't talk much about Christmas. They say it happens after Christmas, and so I'm assuming it takes place after New Year's too. There's no holidays involved in here, and so they make their whole team trek up to the mountains to stay at this like ski lodge cabin that they rented out personally just for this event, and see if their teams can find a way to work together. And everyone on her team, except for her, has an issue with everyone on their team except for him. Okay? So she actually thinks that Jesse is a good guy. Her name's Vi, by the way. Actually, it's Viola, but we're going to call her Vi or V. She actually thinks Jesse's a good guy, but she doesn't understand why he acts like he can't give a crap about her. She's met him several times. First time she met him, he's the one who actually recommended she apply for the job she currently has. And so she was thankful, and then she met him again at a video game, like, conference, and he just kind of ignored her. And she was like, yo, what'd I do? And so she's under the impression that he hates her for some unknown reason. She doesn't know why, okay? But she doesn't actually have a problem with him. And she's like, all right, we can do this. We can make it work. He's going to have to suck it up because we both want this video game. Meanwhile, he's also under the impression that she doesn't like him, and it's complicated misunderstanding situation that I can't talk about because it'll spoil the book. But he's got this protective side to him, and he thinks that she's dating someone from her work because I hate the term work wife and work husband and all that, but she has a work husband. She has a guy that she jokes around with at work, and people at work talk about them dating and having a thing, but they're not actually together, okay? And so he's under the impression that she's with this guy, and then he catches that guy cheating because he thinks he's dating Vi, and gives him a piece of his mind, and then he goes up to Vi and he's like, yo, Jesse just cornered me, and I'm kind of scared. And anyway, this book was really good. It was well written. I was impressed because it's a novella, and it's not instant connection. Hazelwood does a really good job. I'm not a huge fan of instant loves because that's not how I love, is what it is. I look at someone and I'm not going to fall head over heels for them. My mom claims that she knew the moment she met my dad that she was going to marry him. My dad says he knew the moment that she turned her cheek to him that he was going to marry her. But I myself don't believe in love at first sight or anything. And so instant loves are kind of, unless they have like the true mate aspect to them, I don't particularly enjoy them. All right. And so Hazelwood, even her shorter ones, there's always some kind of background in it. It's not an instant love. Like, the people have known each other for a while. Where is my line here? Hold on. That's up further than I thought it was. Okay. So the people, our main characters, have actually known each other for a while, and there's history there. And Hazelwood does a great job of telling you what that history is and making you feel it before your characters fall in love. And so I do like that aspect. I was also kind of shocked because I knew that this was an 18+ book, and I knew that there was going to be steamy scenes in it, but it was a novella, and I'm here for the plot, not the smut. The smut is just a bonus, right? And so I was low-key concerned about how much of this book was going to be plot and how much of this book was going to be smut, but the plot, like I said, in Hazelwood fashion, does take priority, and the smut does come later, and there are some very steamy scenes. In the words of my friend who texted me because she was reading this book right after I read it, she texted me and goes, oh my goodness, the scenes, that's all I can say. And yeah, for real, girl, they're good, they're well written. Hazelwood knows all the right things. Now, there are readers out there who do claim, and I will admit that they're right, but I'm still here for it. Hazelwood only writes like one kind of guy, all right? She writes this brooding, misunderstood, brilliant-minded guy with larger proportions, let's put it that way. And he seems very friendly and gentle, but can be very possessive of the girl, but is also very understanding, and like consent and stuff matters. It's her guys and her female leads are pretty much the same character every time, just with different names, and a lot of people don't like that. I personally, in this instance, don't mind it. There are other books that I have an issue with, but I feel like she gives them enough of a different background each time that to me, it doesn't feel like it's the same character. They just have the same personality traits, and in life, there are some of us that have the same personality traits, right? We find friends that are like us. We find significant others that are like us, and so it makes sense to me. Now, when I rated this, right after I read it, I was, flying high from endorphins from finally reading a book that I loved. And so far this year, I've only really been picking up books that I knew I would love. And so I knew going in, I was like, oh, this is going to be a 5-star. There's only one Hazelwood book that I've ever not given like a 5 or 4-star to, okay? Below Zero. That's what it's called. That Antarctica one that I was talking about, it's that one. And it was just because that one, the main character, was different, and I found her very off-putting. But anyway, so I knew going in, I was like, oh, this is going to be a 5-star. It always is. And it is a 5-star. But in retrospect, I should have dropped it down to 4. And the reason for that is it's a good book, but it's not Hazelwood's best book, okay? I liked this book. I like the fact that the people in this book talk like the people I know talk. I like the fact that she talked about video games that I've played and that people I know have played. And she talked about games that, like, my brother and I talk about video games all the time. And she talked about the games that he's played. And each of the characters have their own opinion. And as a writer, I will tell you that something that was drilled into me by my high school and college English teacher and professors was you never, ever, 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 ever name drop companies or property of companies, okay? But she does. Hazelwood does. And if you've read Twilight, Stephenie Meyers does. And nowadays, I mean, I get where those teachers were coming from because it's like a lawsuit waiting to happen. But it's only really a lawsuit if you do it wrong, okay? See, here's the difference here. I told someone once when I was editing their book, because they were name dropping like crazy, and at one point they said something relatively negative about a very popular company that is ran by a mouse king. We'll put it that way, okay? And so I had to comment and say, hey, be careful. Most companies do not care if you list their name in a book. They do not care if you list their music as long as it's italicized. They do not care if you list their video games. They don't care, okay? Because it's free publicity for them, basically. Unless what you are saying is negative. If they get even an ounce of word that you have said something negative, they will jump on that. And there was a scene in this book that I was low-key afraid for Hazelwood because there's a controversial game, Fallout 67, 69, 65, something like that. I haven't played that. I'm not a fan of the Fallout series. I've watched my dad and my brother play it because as my brother was a teenager, that was their bonding game. Before that, it was Mercenaries and Splinter Cell and stuff. They've always had this game that they bonded over, okay? So I've seen them play it, but I'm not huge into, like, zombie apocalyptic stuff, and it's very much post-apocalyptic dystopian, and the ghouls are like zombies, and I know the lore, but I'm not into it. So I don't really have a preference or an opinion on this game. But as soon as they mentioned it in here, I was like, oh no, this game is like highly, highly debated in the gaming world. You either love it or you hate it. There's like no middle ground from what I've seen. And so our main character V walks into a conversation and one person says, Jesse's boss says, It doesn't need to have a good story because it has good combat. Okay. My understanding is that's the issue people have with the game, is that it has less of a story and it's more just whatever you want to do combat based. But I could be wrong. Okay. Haven't played it, like I said. And I was like, ooh, okay, what's going on here? And then the other person goes, the game is crap. It's not worth it. And I was like, she needs to be careful here because I smell a defamation lawsuit. But then it turns out she played it really well. She has 2 characters for the game, 2 characters against the game. And so instead of it becoming defamation, it becomes a matter of opinion because of how she handled it. Okay? And so I was impressed that she did that. And like, she dropped the names, she dropped the Ubisoft in here. She mentioned Bloodlines. She mentioned, there's a whole bunch of games she mentioned, but now I'm blanking on them. They legit talk about all these games. But most of the time, it's positive. And the one time that it wasn't positive, there were people who were for the game that gave a positive opinion. And so I do have to give her like bonus points for that and for knowing what she was doing and playing the system, because some people don't. And in the case of the Mouse King, I know you all know who I'm talking about, so don't pretend. He is notorious for suing. There was a thing a couple years ago where crafters were like boycotting Mouse King licensed product, like fabric and stuff, because the Mouse King had found out that people were using it for projects like dresses and purses and blankets and then selling them at craft fairs. And they thought that was wrong because they weren't making any money off of that, even though they're the one who licensed the fabric to begin with. So they are notorious, okay? They are a big company that does tend to sue. And so, in the video game world, I wouldn't say there's very many. I can think of one that I think would be very, very much willing to. I won't say their name. Okay? But they worked on a massive... They didn't work on it. They own the franchise that a massive RPG with a certain fiery horned female and vampiric elf. They own that franchise, and I've heard that they can get really picky and stuff, and so I'm not sure. They might, but Hazelwood didn't mention them and didn't mention the company that made the game and didn't mention the game at all. So she was smart there. But the game talk in here is about the creation of the game, the stories, the importance of RPG elements and combat elements, what makes a good game. I did think it was a little odd that the main character's mom, like, she says that her mom doesn't believe she can pay the bills with this job and being a video game designer, and her mom acts like she's selling art on the street. But video game developers and designers, like, that's a tech company. Yeah, they're not making bank, and indie companies right now are like on the rise. Everyone wants a good indie company game. Indie companies tend to focus more on making a good game instead of rushing out a game, because of the fact that they know that if it breaks, they fail, okay? But she's still in a tech company, and so I thought that was a weird dynamic, but we don't see her mom much. We just see her mention her. And she's also a book lover, and we see the connection there because the game that's being developed is being based upon a book series she liked, and she wants to make sure she gets it right, and the guy likes the same series. It's really good. My only criticism, the reason why I think I should have dropped it down to 4 stars is, like I said, it's not the best one of Hazelwood's books. And if I'm going to look at a book like I did with Running with the Alpha Sun and say, this book was good, but it wasn't the best, so I'm going to drop it down, I should drop this one down to a 4 star. And so I might go in and change it. My initial response was 5-star book immediately, want to read it again, loved it, loved it, loved it. But after thinking about it, I mean, if you held me at scissor point, we'll say that, and told me that I could choose only one book to read the rest of my life. This one, Two Can Play, or The Love Hypothesis, I'm gonna choose The Love Hypothesis by Allie Hazelwood. And so in that case, I feel like I need to drop this down to 4 stars. And so I'm gonna go change that rating. Yeah, I'm gonna go change that rating. But otherwise, it was good. I do wish, it's a novella, so it's shorter. It took me maybe, well, I got the audiobook. But here's the thing. The audiobook told me it was a 4-hour read, but I have a high comprehension speed and a high reading speed, and so I stick my speed at 1.25 to 1.50 when I listen to books, and it literally only took me like 2.5 hours to get through this book. So reading it on my own, I'm assuming it probably would have taken 2.5 hours to get through this book, because like I said, I have a high reading speed. So it's not long by any means, but it still has a really good build-up, a good plot. The smut is probably less than 10% of the book. Maybe 10%. Yeah, probably less than 10%. Once it starts, it kicks off and it goes. The smut does. But it's not like the focus of the story. The focus is the romance, the focus is the drama, is the misunderstanding of it. So I would pick this up if you want a good, steamy, but drama-filled romance. This would be it. It's shorter, like I said. It's not a novel, it's a novella, which means that it ends suddenly. Most novellas do that. You don't get to see really what happens after this retreat or when they go home. You get a little tiny glimpse with a couple sentences, but that's about it. But you know that things are gonna be okay because things work out between the couple in there, and it's just like this little slice of happiness. And so I would pick it up if you like it. And so that's our book for tonight, and I am gonna go change that review because, yeah, 5 stars is probably too nice for it. But I do recommend you read it if you like 18 plus stories. If you are under 17, don't pick up this book. I'm legally supposed to say, because you're under 17. But honestly, I don't care. If you've read fan fiction, you can't lie to me. You check that little box that said, I am over 18 years old, because they don't age verify. A lot of companies are nowadays, though. And so, her Discord is. I don't use Discord very much. I deleted it from my computer because I forgot to check it. But I heard they're going to. And so it would not shock me if, AO3 and fanfiction.net and does Wattpad age verify? I haven't been on them in ages. But it wouldn't shock me if they all started age verifying too. But that is our book, and this is where we are in our square. This stripe looks so small because so far we've had like 2 stripes to do every single time, and this time we only have 1. But I think we needed this color because I wasn't feeling it. This multicolor, are the children's books I read that are like picture books that I'm not going to review on here because I don't know. There's not much to talk about a picture book. So they're listed, but then we read like 3 or 4 of them right in a row with my nieces and nephews, and so there was a huge chunk of it, and I was like, I need something different. And so we got this, and I'm going to start a psychological thriller tonight that was recommended to me by the lovely Amber Kessner, so thank you, shout out to Amber. I asked my friends on Facebook to recommend 12 books that they liked for me to read, and I'm trying to read outside my genre, but I'm staying away from Goodreads this year. I'm doing Goodreads for my goal, but I'm staying away from their challenges because last year my attempt to stay out of my comfort zone was to read a book from every one of their challenges, and I did, and I hit the goal. And so this year we're going to try something different, and so I asked my friends, and so I have 12 books from them, and then I have some books that you guys have recommended too, so if you have any recommendations, drop them on down below, and I will try to add them to my TBR. And I also am going to, in the comment section, link what's it called? My Throne. Link my Throne account in case, do I want to? Yeah. No, I'm going to put my link tree in, which will lead you to like my wish list of books and stuff. So if there is one that you want me to buy, if you want to get me, you can, but you don't have to, obviously. And if you recommend books, usually I throw them on my wish list. So I have some that was recommended to me a year ago. Sorry, guys. I can't even remember who recommended it to me, but it's like Dark Matter, a magazine collection, and there's like 3 of them sitting on there because I want to read them. I just have not gotten them yet. And so, yeah, thank you guys so much, and I hope you have a great day and a great rest of your Valentine's Day, and I will see you all next time. Bye, beautifuls.